The emergence of risk or actuarialism as a dominant framework across a whole range of areas of politics and policy has been identified by lots of people as a really significant part of the rise of neoliberalism or late modernity, whatever you want to call it. The way I look at that is that that really goes part and parcel with the marketisation and the emergence of the market as a key mechanism or idea, because it's really about kind of cost-benefit analysis, cost-benefit frameworks being applied across all kinds of areas in terms of developing policy, that we should focus attention on the most risky people, the most risky groups. That's where our money should go. But also in terms of thinking about how the targets of social policy actually might respond to interventions, that they make cost-benefit calculations, that they are calculators. So the transition really is from the sort of social citizen to the economic calculator, and that obviously has important implications for policy and interventions and how we should understand those. So I think if we look at drug policy from a kind of risk framework, can that help us to understand some of the transitions and developments in the recent decades? And I think certainly if you look at harm reduction, it's very interesting to me that Russell Newcomb's very well-known article, sort of usually cited as the first kind of mentioning in the public arena of harm reduction, was published in 1987. And those years, sort of 86, 87, is where in the academic world people for the first time were talking about the emergence of risk society. So probably the most famous book is Ulrich Beck's book called Risk Society. Didn't come out in its English language translation till the early 90s, but the German version of it was published in 1986. Absolutely landmark paper by Jonathan Simon, called actually, I think, The Emergence of a Risk Society, came out in 1987. So I think that these two things are connected, and that harm reduction, it seems to me, there is a real resonance with that approach, which is about looking at the problems, difficulties, harms that result from drug policy and drug use in a rational cost-benefit way, and targeting interventions within that framework. That seems to me resonates completely with this idea that risk as a framework of thinking, as a framework for governing, is rising to prominence. So I think that is a key part, not the only part obviously, that's a key part of the backdrop really for us to understand the emergence of harm reduction.